every single day is different, and you never know what it's going to turn out like when you walk through the door.
Every day there is always an opportunity or a challenge to learn something new or to solve a problem, and to use the knowledge that I've gained at university and throughout my life.
Make yourself stand out by doing work experience or having an enthusiasm and willingness to learn.
Every day I am learning and have something new to tackle. And the great thing about engineering is that at the end of all those challenging days, you can actually see what you've created to make the plant a better place.
When I was 16, Dale came into school and did a talk about chemical engineering. And that inspired me to find a career which suited me in the oil and gas industry. I enjoyed getting to see different things on the refinery and the different experience working with different people, and that's probably what I enjoyed most.
It's great to work for a company that even as you progress through your leadership roles, that they still give you the time to go out and support these outreach programmes so you can encourage the future generations to come and work for us here at Phillips 66.
Learn as much as you can about what different jobs entail now, because often what a job seems to be from the outside is quite different to the reality.
One of the best parts of my job is knowing I work for a company focused on the future, focused on the environment, and that in my role I can help bring about real environmental improvements.
Be confident, be yourself, don't downplay your talents and abilities, because you have so much to bring to the table.
So I'm a chemical engineer, I'm a chartered chemical engineer, and I started, originally South Wales is my home, and I started over at the Humber Refinery was where I did my graduate placement. So I loved, like all the other engineers and ladies on this call, I started, at GCSE levels, I loved my science and my maths. That was where my strengths were. And, it's really obvious when you talk about medicine or veterinary, those sort of jobs are really obvious. You think, oh, well, that's what I go and do to do my sciences. I always joke that they need to do like a docudrama about engineering, and we'd probably get a lot more people into the engineering workplace. But anyway, I was fortunate to have some good career advisors, and so they noticed that I enjoyed those subjects and gave me some good suggestions on where to go. I know there's been quite a few questions on here of why engineering, and my top tip for you girls out there listening to this is do plenty of work experience, because you really don't know what the job's going to entail until you go in and actually do some work experience and shadowing. So, and it's as important to know the things you don't want to do as much as it is to do the jobs you want to do. So I did a work experience in medicine, because that was the obvious thing to do, because I was good at science and maths, and I hated it. I did a work experience in engineering and I absolutely loved it. So that's how I started my engineering sort of path. I studied at the University of Wales, Swansea, and got my master's in chemical engineering. And then I was very, very fortunate to get a graduate placement at the Humber with Phillips 66. That was nearly 16 years ago. And in that time, I've done a huge variety of different jobs with Phillips 66. Every 3 or 4 years, I've rotated into different roles, starting off with design engineering and support operations engineering. So when we say operations, we mean supporting the plant, in terms of the distillation columns, the drums, the reactors, the plant that takes the crude oil to make the gasoline, the diesel, kerosene, aviation fuel type of products. So I did that for a number of years. I then went into what we call our production planning role, which was a fantastic job, quite a stressful job, but I absolutely loved it, where you're effectively overseeing the logistics of the refinery with the crude coming in and the products you're making, and making sure the plant in the middle is doing what you're expecting it to. So you really saw real effects of the decisions that you were making. I then did a stint with our marketing group. So they need engineers there, so that once we've made the product at the refinery, we need engineers to help us in terms of getting it into the cars. So I supported that role for a number of years. And that was a bit of a deviation from, I guess, the more traditional route at the refinery. But one of my other top tips is never turn down an opportunity. Try not to have a real sort of blinkered path that you want to do, because sometimes these opportunities come out of the blue and you think, yeah, why not? I'll give that a go. and it was fantastic. It wasn't as challenging as working at the refinery, but it was a really interesting part of the business that I learned. Got to do a little bit of travel into Europe, and that was fantastic in terms of cementing some of my technical engineering and dealing with other people. I then did a role as the lead engineer, similar to what Bryony is doing at the moment, so managing a team of enthusiastic engineers, which was fantastic, again, overseeing a part of the refinery. And then 18 months ago, they offered me a role over here in Oklahoma at our Ponca City refinery. And I'm like the business team lead or an area manager. That lots of people call it different things, but I'm effectively responsible for about a quarter of the refinery here. I have 96 people reporting into me, a huge variety of people. I used to think engineers were hard to manage. Then I was managing lots of other disciplines, so like operators, mechanical folk, sort of admin folk, and it's fantastic. Keep that open mind in terms of, you know, go with the opportunities that are provided to you, and you know, have that confidence. You know, I think females, one of the things we're really bad at is we're sometimes not as confident as perhaps some of our male colleagues or some of our male peers at school. And what I would say is don't let that put you off, because you're as good as they are, and if you work hard and you put energy into it, then you'll have a fantastic career. But the thing I would really recommend is go after what your passion is. The money is a bonus. The money is useful, clearly, but you're a long time working. You don't want to be in an industry for perhaps 35 years, 30 years in a job that you don't enjoy. So I would highly recommend you really find what your passion is and then go after it. And if you're lucky enough that it pays you well, then yeah, you're in a really good place. So I hope these talks have inspired you or helped you to think about what you want to do. And
everybody's touching on it, but teamwork is coming through loud and clear about how you work in your industries, all the variety of industries you've got. So Del, is that a big thing for you?
It's a huge thing. So one of the big things that we really like, so Phillips 66 doesn't employ stupid people, but one of the real things that stands you apart is that those, what we call like the softer skills, so how you interact with other people. So there is no one job at the refinery that you can do, even when you're in like more of a design role, you need the skills to be able to interact, communicate with other people. We have some fantastic people, very, very smart people that we work with, and they may not be chemical engineers. They may have come up through the apprentice route. They may be instrument background. They may be mechanical background, but you will achieve absolutely nothing if you can't work as a team. And I think that's one of the things I really, really love is the fact that you rarely have a solo day where you're working on just one thing. It's a very collaborative industry. You know, I can't be the expert off of the whole refinery, clearly. So it's really, really important to have that teamwork. I know as part of your degree and part of your A-levels and GCSEs, I know you typically have a lot of projects to do, and there's good reason for that. So really embrace those, because you might be like the absolute smartest person in your class, but if you can't work with anybody else in your class, you're not going to go very far. So that's a real skill set that you want to hone, and that will help you in whatever career path you take. So my top tip is get yourself out there, get your CV out there, and don't be deterred if you get some pushbacks, because obviously the companies can't take everybody on, because we still have a job to do. But you know, don't let that, if you get a couple of turndowns, don't let that put you off. Get out there and really sell yourself. Get that CV written up well and get that out to different companies, and keep persevering with that. And like I said, I think it's as important to do the work experiences to discover the things you don't like as much as it is to find the things that you really love.
We've just had our latest apprenticeship intake start. They started in September at HETA. So with us, they do 1 year off-site, learning the practicalities in a neutral environment with mentors on site. And then their second year, they come onto the refinery. And in total, they do 4 years. Some stay on for a 5th year. We call it a developmental year. So if there isn't a vacancy open at that time that they can apply for, and we really don't want to let them go, we try and keep them on board. We've just been recently recruiting for technician roles on site, and 4 of our apprentices got full-time positions against people who have been experienced and working in the industry in other areas. So their training paid off, and they've got their jobs on on their own credit for the work they've done.